but I never really considered it. It became an option. I worked my butt off. The rest is history.
You trained in the WCW power plant at that time with your trainer.
Dwayne Bruce, Sarge. He was invaluable. I wouldn't have been the guy that I was without him.
Yeah. Maybe compare a little bit. Have you been to the Performance Center since WWE is doing big things there? How would you mind? How would you compare former training with nowadays training? Do you think that's rougher back in the days?
Oh, there's no question it's rougher back in the day. I haven't seen it in person, but all I could say is every other sport across the board has turned into more badminton than contact sport.
All right.
So
you mean wrestling is becoming...
The fact is that head injuries have a lot to do with that too, so you have to be cautious.
Yeah.
So I understand that part of it. But as far as putting guys through hell to make sure that they have the camaraderie ship that you had back in the day, I don't know if that's done anymore.
All right.
I know that what Dwayne Bruce put me through, I don't know who all could take that.
All right.
And I don't know if at the next training center they allow their guys to do that.
What was the toughest part you did there?
But Dwayne, thank you. I appreciate it.
What is there any special training method that you were like, oh, God damn it, I hate it, but now I really love it?
No. I hated all of it. But I never would lead on that I did because I never wanted to succumb to the pain. And it's a mind over matter thing. And I never wanted them to see me stress.
All right. You then started pretty fast at being a wrestler in WCW, and also your streak kind of skyrocketed really, really fast. Never one thought it would be so quickly, that you would rise so quickly. When was the point during this first, let's say, 1 or 2 months that you could actually feel there's something happening here, there's something magic happening, people screaming Goldberg, Goldberg?
When I could simply walk in the ring and slowly turn my head and look at the crowd and they go nuts, I knew I had something. I knew they put me in a position to grab a hold of the crowd, and I was able to do it with all of their help. So I was in a very enviable position. Yeah.
And you never talk much. I know today WWE wrestlers also tend to talk a little bit too much maybe. And at that time, you're actually come in, we got fireworks, we got smoke, we got the spear, we got the jackhammer, that's it.
You know, you got to have a plethora of talent. You have to have a plethora of gimmicks to complement each other. And I don't think everybody should go out there and spill their guts and tell a male soap opera and then get into physical confrontation. I'm a man who's lives by the path of least resistance. You get from point A to point B in the quickest amount of time possible. And that's what I did, and that's what people wanted to see, and that's why it worked.
Yeah. You've been one of the biggest stars of WCW, especially during the Monday Night Wars, actually. You're doing numbers today's wrestling is like dreaming of, to be honest. Describe that time a bit. I mean, you've been right in the middle of the best time in wrestling business total.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to really expand upon it because I was lucky enough to just enter into the business right when it was crescendoing. So I don't know the bad times. I didn't experience that. I was very lucky. That had a lot to do with the success of my character. Nowadays, there's so many other entities to compare against it, to compete against it. It's a tough forum out there. It's a tough battlefield. I know Monday Night Football had to change their time slot because of our show back in the day. Yeah. That's pretty powerful. I don't know if they can do that anymore.
No, that was an amazing time. And you also had some legendary matches. And still, I think back to the day, you are mentioning your match against Diamond Dallas Page from Halloween Havoc 98 as your best match you ever had. What was the magic behind that?
The magic behind it was the respect and the admiration that I had for Dallas's work ethic, in that I gave him complete control, and he came back with a match that, as you saw, was one for the ages.
Yeah, absolutely. But another one for the ages was your title win against Hogan in Georgia Dome at that time. I think still to this day, one of the biggest audiences in a TV wrestling show.
How can it be any bigger? I mean, let's be honest. We had 3 days to promote it, and we put 45,000 people in the Georgia Dome.
It was absolutely unbelievable. So, any fond memories about that evening?
Yeah, you know, I've said this story before, but you know, the coolest part about it was not winning the belt, was not seeing 45,000 people cheering my name. The coolest part at the end of the night when we went off TV was my teammates at the Atlanta Falcons came out and saved me from the NWO.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was chained to the corner and I was looking up at the idols that I had tried to emulate for years, guys that I put up on a pedestal, guys that I wanted to be like every day. But at that time, they wanted to be me. And that gave me a satisfaction in my heart that I'd been needing for a long time.
All right. So after that, you had like a quite short title run, actually. How did you like the end of your streak?
You know, I've said it before. I'm not a booking agent. I'm not a booker. I don't do that kind of stuff. I just take direction. I'll give my opinion. I don't like the way that it ended, and I don't like where it went. But I mean, who's to say?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's my character. Obviously, I wanted to win all the time. But.
Yeah, but it's a fact that you only lost, I think, 5 times in your career. Is it something that makes you proud?
Oh, most definitely. There's no question. I mean, even though everybody knows it is what it is, to be the guy who only loses 5 times in his entire career is an honor bestowed upon me that I don't believe I deserve, but I'm very gracious of.
Yeah. I think I don't remember any wrestler who only lost like 5 times. It's unbelievable. When your son goes to school and talks with his friends, are they like, oh, you're the son of Goldberg and something like that? He only lost 5 times. You know, he's unbeatable. We better don't mess with him.
I don't know, man. He's 10. I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure that some of the kids want to come over to the house and kind of hang out and do the thing with Goldberg. But, you know, that's why I did what I did, man, to be that father that his son is proud of.
Would you recommend your son to do wrestling or football or both, as you did?
You know, earlier I said that I wouldn't let him do it, but the reality is, as a parent, you let your children investigate. You let them try things that they desire to excel at. And if one of them is professional wrestling, then I'm not going to stand in his way.
All right. Maybe let's come to your WWE career. It was quite short, but you got your entrance first was really big. Your first opponent was actually The Rock, and how could it get any better? I mean, he's the big one.
It was an honor, man. I mean, it was an honor for them to think I was worthy to come in and beat Rock, you know, immediately. It's something I'm very proud of because obviously I was doing something right, or obviously I was in the right time in the right situation. Like I say, I like to downplay it, but the reality is there are a lot of guys who've tried it before me, and you know, not everybody's succeeded. I had great coaching, great tutelage, the right people telling me what to do. Some people telling me the wrong thing to do, but at the end of the day, I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. How would you rate your WWE run? Because it was only like 1 year, culminated in the match with Brock Lesnar. Are you happy with how it worked out? Is it like something where you'd say, we could have done maybe more and could have taken more out of it?
Hey, at the end of the day, everybody's always going to wish that upon themselves. It could have been better. Well, you know, if you're a perfectionist. There are many things that I would have liked to have changed. But at the end of the day, they have molded me as a person, molded me as a wrestler. And I wouldn't relive them. I wouldn't change them. I mean, it was a good experience.
All right. I asked you the question today already with our podcast, but still I'm going to ask you again. If you look at today's roster of WWE, who would you like to face? And who would you like to have a feud with?
Well, I mean, it's purely because of the rivalry between our two schools that we went to. But Roman Reigns likes to do the spear, and he went to Georgia Tech and played football. Goldberg kind of made the spear what it is, and he went to Georgia and played football. There's always going to be the comparison between
rivalry?
The two. Oh, my God. We hated each other, you know, as teams.
All right.
Obviously, he's a good probably 20 years younger than I am, so he wasn't around. But it doesn't matter. I can't stand anybody who went to Georgia Tech. And conversely, I'm sure he says the same thing about me. But there's probably other reasons why it would be him. But, you know, hey, man, I'd take anybody on. I don't care who it is.
All right. Because there's always this one name coming up when speaking about Goldberg. Of course, it's Brock Lesnar.
Well, he knows what it's like being in the ring with me. And, you know, he can talk all he wants, but I don't think he wants to do it again. But if he did, then the time was right and the place was right and the situation was right, then I'd give him what he wants.
Because Paul Heyman talked a little bit smack about
Paul
about
Heyman
you.
can kiss my ass. I don't care anything about Paul Heyman. I could care less about Paul Heyman.
All right. So
He's a mouthpiece. Nothing more, nothing less.
he knows that, I guess.
He's perfect. I mean, he's great for Brock. But he, you know, the value to me, no, nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. He's nothing to me.
All right. Was there ever a time in your career when you were thinking about maybe I should get a mouthpiece or something like that? Someone?
No, never wanted to be that guy. Never wanted to be like anybody else.
Not even an advocate?
No, never. I just didn't. I wanted to do my own. I wanted to be the Mike Tyson of wrestling. I wanted to come out, do my thing. I didn't want to feed into the drama, but I just wanted to be that guy and perform.
Do you still have contact with some of the WCW guys you met back in the days?
Yeah. Couple of the guys for sure. Steiner brothers are good buddies of mine.
All right.
Ernest Miller.
Okay.
You know, Charles Robinson. And I'd say probably that's about it.
All right. That's a quite strange mixture, isn't it?
It's quite strange. But, you know, that shows my eclectic desire to have very different friends.
Yeah, that's true. I also remember you having great matches with Scott Steiner back in the WCW time. Is it good when you're friends and you're in the ring? Is it good to have a good chemistry?
Well, there's no question it's good when you're friends because you trust the other guy. You know that if something happens, it was a mistake, and you go on. You don't stop and complain about it. Steiner hit me with shots that I'll never forget. I loved those shots because it opened up the opportunity for me to give them back to him.
All right. Talk about things that happen, strange things that happen. At one segment, you blasted a windshield with your forearm, and you cut your tendons in your arm. It cut your career a bit short. You were injured for a long time. You even cut your run a bit short. How did that happen? Was it out of emotion, out of anger?
It was brought about by my own stupidity.
Okay.
The gimmick was I was supposed to break it with a sledgehammer, and I wasn't very happy that night, and so I forewent the sledgehammer and I used my hand, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, it wasn't so good at all.
Nah.
What was your favorite story within WCW? Is there a favorite segment or a storyline besides winning the WCW title?
My favorite storyline was when the NWO had to hide under the ring for the entire 2-hour show, and Kurt Hennig was under there with Scott Norton and Virgil, and nobody could obviously go anywhere because if they did, then they'd be outed, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so Kurt Hennig ate hard-boiled eggs all day. And the only thing that they had a bucket down there to go number 1 and number 2 in. Well, he threw up in it and did number 2 in it, and the guys couldn't go anywhere. So just imagine that.
That sounds awful.
Awful. Just awful. But it's very funny to think back.
Yeah, of course. Since talking about funny stories, you guys, when traveling the road, you do a lot of strange things together. Maybe something that's, let's say, even for the younger audience, some funny stories about that during that time?
Oh, here's a good one. Kurt Hennig again. We were on a plane, and they have this little liquid. It's like poop spray.
Yeah.
It smells like doo-doo. So we're in first class. I'm sitting next to him. I get up. I go to the restroom. He tells everybody that I have the runs, and he sprays some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I come out of the bathroom, every single person in first class is looking at me, and I have no idea what's going on. And I sit down, and he doesn't tell me till we get off the plane. So that's Kurt Hennig for you.
That's great stories. You know,
it's clean enough for me to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that nowadays is it still like this locker room mentality you got there, or do you think it's all a little bit cleaner, a little bit more easier maybe at that time?
I don't think they can get away with the stuff we got away with. I think there's a thing called rules.
Yeah.
That, a lot of the old school guys didn't abide by. But at the end of the day, it made us a closer-knit group. It made us a closer locker room.
Yeah.
The camaraderie you have with somebody, if you go through hell with them, is pretty tight.
Yeah. Even in WCW, even when WCW went down, was the camaraderie still that good?
Obviously it was waning at that point.
Yeah.
There was a lot of division. I was hurt at the time, so I wasn't even around in Pensacola when they had the final WCW match, Sting. It was a sad time for the business.
Yeah. How do I'm always thinking about how does it feel when you're like on a sinking ship and you could really feel that the ratings are going down, the audience are getting smaller. It must be a strange feeling being a wrestler, some kind of.
It was, but
federation.
it wasn't like that. I mean, audiences weren't getting small. They were smaller, but they weren't small. The enthusiasm waned, but it didn't die.
Yeah.
Compared to pulling 8 point something in the ratings, you know, we were still doing pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
How it would compare against today, I don't know. But it was surely a tumultuous time in that business.
Yeah, it was. And still, remembering the WWE, when you got over, how was the difference from WCW locker room compared to WWE locker room in 2003, 2004?
I don't have enough time to go into that.
Oh, come on.
It was completely different.
Yeah, just maybe a bit.
I felt unwanted, out of place.
All right.
It was a very combative time in my career.
Where does it come from that you didn't feel at home there? Was it because you're the WCW guy? Because
yeah, a little WCW thing, a little animosity between them and us, and that, you know, we were doing well at the time, and then we came under the auspices of their leadership, and then they did whatever they wanted to us. And so, yeah, it was a completely different landscape.
All right. You at the time you won the title from Triple H, and you also lost him from Triple H.
Go figure.
Yeah. So, how is your relationship today with Triple H? Do you talk? Do you had talks in the last couple of?
You know, I think I talked to Paul 3 years ago.
All right.
That's it.
All right, because he's now COO and stuff. So.
No. I think they reached out to me, or I can't remember what it was. I'm not going to sit here and make a big deal out of it and have the internet go crazy because of this and that. I honestly can't remember, but we did have a conversation, and I laid it on the line. And that's where we left it. So,
all right.
And here we are now.
No, so not even talks about a Hall of Fame or something this?
No, not at all.
Would you be interested in that?
Hey, man, I mean, any invitation to a upper echelon group of guys would be an honor for me.
Yeah. When you look at your career today, so you're doing movies and you're doing charity a lot, obviously. So tell me a little bit about how Goldberg nowadays spends his time.
I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, eat a bowl of Cheerios, and watch SpongeBob with my kid. That's how I start my day. Then make his lunch and, you know, do the thing. Hey, I'm a dad now, man. You know, we got a movie coming out, or a movie starting to be filmed. It's in pre-production right now. It starts in 3 weeks in Louisiana. My first co-production on a movie.
All right.
I'm the lead in the movie. Special ops movie. It's the start of a trilogy. It's going to be. It's a wonderful opportunity for me. My best friend is directing it. So
awesome.
It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
There are many other things that I'm involved in. We got a TV show coming up. And like I say, my son takes a lot of time, and that's time very well spent. I mean, that's what life is all about. And not to mention, you know, training Muay Thai 4 to 5 days a week.
That's a good way to spend the time, huh?
Most definitely, because he's there. You know, he goes 3 days a week.
Yeah. Do you feel more fit and more agile than?
Absolutely.
Because you look like you've never aged a bit.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. But I mean, I've worked my butt off day after day after day to maintain some type of a positive look.
Yeah.
You know, because the reality is, I've discovered this thing called cardio since I left wrestling. And, you know, going 10 5-minute rounds with 30 seconds rest in between with a guy who's trying to rip your head off, that's a daunting task. And I never could have done that before.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I do now. And, you know, granted, I'm not 290 like I used to be, but I do weigh what Brock weighed when he tipped the scales at UFC. So it's not like I'm pushing the scales at 205. It's just I'm a different person.
All right. Yeah, we talked about it earlier as well. So do you think that at the time in WCW, you were like Mr. Intensity, really. You came out, you smashed your head into lockers and all this stuff.
I still do that.
You only on Sundays.
Yeah.
No, but do you think that after all this time spent within at home being dad and also doing other stuff, do you think that you kind of got a little bit more relaxed about the wrestling business?
Oh, there's no question. Hey, man, let's be honest. I was kind of a loose cannon there for a little bit. I think a lot of us have gone through that. I'm not proud of how I acted in a small period of time, but I learned and I prospered and I grew from it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's made me a better person.
How do you deal with critics? Because still to that day...
I block them. No, I do. Honestly, I don't deal with them anymore. I used to get pissed off and I used to go after every one of them. Life's too short. You know, Conor McGregor puts this thing out the other day. Oh, I'll kick everybody's ass that's, you know, on the roster. And I ain't on the roster, first of all. Second of all, I'm 50 almost. Third of all, the little guy just wants some attention. That's it. So if you retort, then you feed into it and you give him what he wants. I just made a little comment and went on.
Yeah, but it still went off like hell in wrestling, international internet wrestling community.
He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He has no idea. No idea. I mean, and like I said before, there ain't one there's a very small percentage of MMA guys who would not die to be successful professional wrestlers.
Yeah. I mean, you're a hybrid athlete, to be honest. So you're doing MMA style as well, but also you've been a very successful wrestler. How did the MMA background help you within your wrestling career?
Oh my God! I mean, it gave me a bit of realism that I couldn't have done before, because it would have injured a lot of people. But there's lots of ways that you can disguise, whether it's chokes or arm breaks or leg locks, to where they don't actually hurt, but they look like they hurt.
Yeah.
So it adds that realism to it. And truth be told, I knew the UFC was going to explode and be the biggest thing going. I personally felt that if I liked it, that everybody liked it. That was a personal thing of mine. But I was right. And that's who I patterned myself after, as an MMA guy who just so happened to be a defensive lineman and, you know, could put his head through walls.
Why did you never started through in MMA and maybe tried that?
At the time, first and foremost, I had to retire from the NFL because of an injury. I tore my abdomen off of my pelvis, so I never thought that I could actively do something at that level again. Secondly, I was never prepared to step in there and do anything competitively because that wasn't my background. I never had the wrestling background that Brock had. I never had that base. I hated wrestling in high school. Got all the martial arts stuff, but I never really had a great wrestling base, and that's a huge thing to have and not to have in MMA. First and foremost, they weren't making any money. So I thought the most viable option and the best decision was to go in the wrestling business.
Yeah. If you today have to choose MMA or wrestling, what would you...
Well, I'd do MMA in 2 seconds.
All right.
But, you know, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
That's true. You know who said the same thing?
Who?
Paul Heyman.
No.
Yes, he did. I got
it
on
must be
tape.
a Jewish thing.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
No, but today, what do you follow more? Do you watch wrestling or do you watch more MMA?
Oh, MMA.
MMA?
I watch kickboxing more so than MMA. I watch Muay Thai fighting more so than kickboxing.
All right.
I'm a purist.
Okay.
I think MMA's kind of convoluted it now. The attitude and the antics of a Conor McGregor ruin what martial arts is all about to begin with. It's respect.
Yeah.
Granted, he's doing what he's doing to sell tickets, and I get that, and that's who he is. But there's just a couple of little things that I'd like for him to change. But that's not me. Obviously, he's great at what he's doing, and, you know, he don't need to change nothing.
Yeah. How do you feel about wrestlers getting into MMA? We've seen Brock.
I think it's a great option. A lot of these guys have true wrestling backgrounds, and that is the #1 base for mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
If you're smart enough to cross-train and be good at everything, then you have a viable option to go out there and compete competitively. If you don't, then you're going to get dropped.
Yeah.
And it's not like wrestling. It's the real business.
Yeah, absolutely is. Speaking of which, we got CM Punk coming up at UFC 202, 203. How do you see his chances?
I don't know Mickey Gall. I don't know CM Punk.
All right.
I know that he has a passion for what he's doing, so I'm a big fan of his for following that passion and putting caution to the wind and putting his reputation and his career on the line to go out there and follow a dream.
Yeah.
That's what Brock did. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of who he is. Now, whether it's a smart decision and whether he's prepared, I don't know. But the fact that he's made the decision to make the jump, I got to pat him on the back. He's got balls.
Yeah, he definitely does. And he's also delivering within the ring, and he's also delivering the ratings. But let's say we were playing WWE 2K17. How would a matchup between you and Brock end up there? I mean, we got the backstage brawls, we got the finishes on the apron, we got all that new stuff. What would you do in the game, of course?
I don't think I'd do much different than I did the first time I kicked his ass. I'd just make him suffer a little bit more this time.
All right. How happy were you with the match at that time? Because to be honest, I was in the crowd at that evening, and the crowd wasn't so happy about the match.
No, but you know what? I don't blame them. They knew we were both leaving.
Yeah.
So how can you have steam on a match when ultimately they know it's the last time they're going to see you, and they resent it? They resented both of us. And I looked across the ring when we started, and Brock looked like he wanted to eat me. And I'm like, dude, don't take it out on me. We took it out on each other.
Yeah.
And if you break it down, I don't think it was a bad match. But nobody ever could give it a chance because you listen to the crowd. And there were so many emotions going into it. You know, hey, we'd like to do it again, but, you know, I'm an old man now. So.
How did you feel going through the curtain? Well, because it was like a chapter closed for your life at that time. Did you know that this probably was your last match for WWE and even for wrestling in total?
Japan. I knew I was going to Japan.
Yeah, all right.
Japan was the ultimate goal for me.
Yeah.
Truly.
Then describe your way you got to Japan and maybe your time there.
You know, I worked for Hustle One.
Yeah.
It was a company that was also owned by Pride. They did some cross promotion. I showed up at a Dynamite event with 100,000 people in the Tokyo Dome and did a little promotion, and it was a great time. Pride was smoking, man. It was the momentum they had was unbelievable. It was the place to go.
How's the mentality different there in Japan? Because I think modern wrestling or MMA fans don't know how the mentality.
They don't cry if you hit them. They like it stiff. They like it real.
Yeah.
And I admire that. And that's why I wanted to go to Japan.
And also they got a huge respect for also wrestlers and also for the MMA fighters.
Oh, my God. Sometimes you think they got more respect for the wrestling business than MMA.
Yeah.
They're truly passionate about it. It's like seeing the fans here in Cologne. I mean, if you would have told me I would have walked through that curtain and seen like 500 people, 1,000 people out there, man, that was very touching for me, and I'm not that googly kind of guy. But, you know, it made me feel really good, man. I'm very appreciative that people would even remember who the hell I am.
Yeah. Of course, we got the SummerSlam coming up. I need to ask you that. And you kind of also answered the question already, but you're not traveling to New York.
I am traveling to New York tomorrow morning at 6:55.
And plus, that must be a nice circle that would be close. You know, you had your last match in New York. And now you're traveling to New York, and out of coincidence, SummerSlam is in New York, and we got the brand split and all the new champions being crowned.
Next question.
They don't want to spoil anything.
No, you know, here's the deal. Throughout the years, people have thought that I was coming back here and coming back there, and whether I ever come back or not, I'm never going to spoil it for the fans because that's what they like.
Yeah.
They like to be in the dark. They like to guess for themselves. They like the anticipation, and they like the possibility of something happening that they've wanted to happen for a long time. But, you know, just going to have to wait and see.
Because that's always, I think it's whenever there's a big event, it's always like rumors, will Goldberg come back? Is it something that
I think WWE puts those out. I don't know. Then they don't call me. I don't know what's going on.
It's a shame because so many fans obviously want you. To be honest, I wasn't expecting this kind of reaction for you either. Because it's, I mean,
well, thank you.
No, they're not personal, but it's a totally different generation nowadays. You know, so it's 12 years ago. And
yeah, it's like I said, it was it floored me. It was really humbling, man. It was really cool.
You really took time for your fans and signed some autographs and stuff like that.
That's what I do, man. I mean, I may have been the loud guy and the violent guy, but at the same time, that's what this business is for.
Yeah.
It's passing it down to the kids. It's entertaining the kids. It's giving them a hero to believe in and a bad guy to hate. That's ultimately what the business is for.
Yeah. Have you always been the hero?
Yeah. I was the heel one night, and that's part of my demise as a wrestler too. I never understood that the best baby faces are guys that could turn heel and completely surprise everybody and then turn back. Problem is that the night they had me turn, they had me beating up Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who just got back from surgery, and I had a Make-A-Wish girl who was dying of cancer that night.
Okay.
And I don't think she ever forgave me for that.
Yeah, that's
a
sad
story.
story.
It is what it is. It's a show, but it was too hard for me to see one child going through that. It's just, but that, like I said, is part of the downfall of my character because I never went to the dark side.
Would you have liked to? Because it sounds
I would have
like
been one of the nastiest heels on the face of the planet.
If you look at me like that, I believe that.
I'm telling you, there's no question. I would have made Bruiser Brody look like Tiny Tim.
What would you have done there?
I just would have been so vicious. I'd be like Brock. I'd be so vicious, and I wouldn't care about staying within the rules, and I would beat people to a bloody pulp and not get up.
That's not PG.
No, I don't. That's what I do.
Do you think that wrestling suffers under the PG guidance now?
I can't pass judgment. I haven't watched it. I really don't know. People have said that. I've taken note of that.
Yeah.
But I can't pass judgment.
All right. But still, the funny thing is we all know you as the tough badass coming out and beating people up. But there's also like the one time just a couple of seconds ago where there's a soft spot within Goldberg. Especially you mentioned all your work you do for kids. Maybe tell us a little bit about the things you do, because I think at least in Germany there's not that much known.
Whether it's Make-A-Wish, whether it's helping the wounded warriors, I like to lend a lot of my time to the guys and girls who risk their lives every day for our freedom. Whether it's here in Germany, whether it's in the United States, it doesn't matter where it is. Whether you're white, green, black, purple, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Baptist, it doesn't make a difference.
Absolutely. Are you a politically interested man? Just all of.
What'd you say?
Are you a politically interested man?
I'm a father. There's no question. I want to leave my son with the best case scenario humanly possible for the country that he lives in.
All right. It's going to be a funny year then for you.
I think funny is an absolute understatement. I'm on Brock's heels, and I might be moving to Canada with him.
But also what I found out on the internet is there's a hell of a lot cat pictures with you and a hell of a lot cat content. Where does it come from?
Man, I did some stuff with the Humane Society years and years ago, and it seems to be that those are never ending on the internet. But I'm not a cat person really, even though we have the coolest cat arguably in the world at our house right now. But we've got dogs and horses and goats and cats. We got a cat too. You know what? I love them too, but just not as much as dogs.
That's such a funny thing, that you find a tough badass with all these little cats. And
hey, man, I bottle fed my goat, from 2 weeks on.
All right, so at least that's
pretty. That's pretty lame right there.
No, I think that's there's not only a wrestler and an MMA fighter here, but it's also a human being.
I'm a human. The best characters are ones that can show range, and if you can be violent and then at the drop of a hat be the antithesis of the character that you just showed, then I think you show range. Therefore, you're more entertaining.
Yeah, but wasn't that the thing that maybe was missing during your WCW run in the end, because it was like kind of stagnating at times?
At WCW?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I don't really remember back because I was hurt at the end of that tenure. I mean, when they went under, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it took a turn for the worst, but it was a combination of a number of things.
All right. And in at WWE times, was there anything you would have done more and better, and something would you say, Mensch, come on, I had these ideas and we didn't put it into realization?
Yeah, but see, I'm not an idea guy. I'm a guy who you can give a scenario and I can make it as violent as possible.
Yeah.
But I never profess to be an idea guy. That's not my job. I'm a wrestler. I'm a guy who goes out and performs his job.
Yeah.
To the best of his ability each and every night. As far as coming up with the content, that wasn't me. And so I wanted to leave that to the best guys. And if I had an idea every once in a while, I'd throw it in, but I don't want to overstep my bounds. You got guys that have been in the business 20 years.
Yeah. Speaking of content, now you're in WWE 2K17. Did they do any special scans on you, and how did that work? And is it a strange thing when you do this kind of stuff now?
I don't really have anything to compare it against because it's the first one I've done in 12 years. It's we did the face motion capture. It was a much easier process than it was back in the day. And, the game in itself has so many more levels, so many more layers to it. It's incomparable.
All right. And if you had, like, a couple of wishes for the Goldberg's future, what would that be? Being more video games, being more movies, doing a CD?
I'd like to be the new host of the American Top Gear show.
All right.
That's what I'd like to do. That's kind of a dream job for me because I just love cars.
Yeah.
And, these movies are fun, and I'm going to continue to do them. But my passion is really, really cars.
Where does it come from? Is it childhood?
My dad was a Jaguar guy when I was a kid. And
all right.
I always loved his cars. He had like 4 or 5 different Jaguars. And my brothers would take them out and wreck them and then fix them before they got home. And I learned through osmosis.
Are you also someone who tunes his cars? And
oh, yeah, no question. No question. I built my wife a couple cars and built myself a couple cars. And, yeah, I mean, I'm an active participation guy. I like to get my hands dirty.
All right. So what is future got to hold for you now? So you're doing WWE 2K17.
First and foremost, I need some sleep. I left Louisiana at 10 o'clock yesterday, and I've slept 2 hours since.
Oh, but it's been a good job here. You got a warm welcome in Cologne.
Absolutely. That's what's given me the ability to go on. But, yeah, that's the first thing I do is get more sleep. Monday, yes, sometime soon I'm headed back to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And we're going to start pre-production again. And we're going to pick up September 6th or 7th and start production of the movie. So that's my immediate future. I've got a car show up in Indiana.
So it's a lot of stuff to do for you.
God only knows. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. We got the gig in Toronto with 2K. We got a lot of cool things going on.
Is there any wishes you would send out to your fans out there who are probably watching and supporting you?
Just like I told the fans here in Cologne, it's very humbling to know that they still remember me, let alone cheer for me like they did today. Yeah. And I'm greatly appreciative of any single person and every person that would follow and care about me getting back in the ring or care about me not getting back in the ring or caring at all.
Yeah.
So I've left an indelible impression upon some people, and for that I am greatly grateful.
All right. Yeah. So, Goldberg, I thank you for your time. It's been really a cool interview. It's been a good time with you.
Thank you.
I've been watching wrestling since I'm 6 years old, which is 30 years now. It's a pretty long time doing a podcast on my own because I'm inspired by wrestling and also by guys like you. And I really enjoyed this little interview, and I thank you for your time.
Absolutely my pleasure, my friend.
And hope to see you maybe next year, WrestleMania, WWE 2K18 then.
You never know.
You never know.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take care, my friend.
Yeah.
Adios, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for your stream and for your time, and we'll see you.